Hello, my friends, and welcome to the latest spin. I'm Mike Spinner, Student Athlete World USA, and coming at you a little later than we had hoped on a Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. For those of you used to the 8 o'clock time slot, my apologies. Where were we before Wi-Fi? I mean, it's the most amazing thing. About 7:30, actually just finished an interview, and all you know what broke loose. The Wi-Fi where I live in my area went down, and just came back on. But like, it just, I wonder if there's a real psychological condition, like when you lose access to the rest of the world, like not having Wi-Fi, because the stress, and not that this show isn't a big deal to me. It is, as my name on it. Um, but the pressure of like, how do I figure out how to do the show without Wi-Fi? It was really a burden. Like I was very upset and stressed. And then you can't really do much with your phone. And it seems like the whole world's falling apart. And I'm old enough, as Tim was nice enough to point out, I had a birthday on Monday. I'm old enough to remember no internet at all, let alone Wi-Fi, and it blows the mind how something that should be as small as losing your Wi-Fi throws your whole life into disorder, which is what I experienced for about an hour and a half there. But I'm back online. I'm back with the rest of the world. I'm back with you. Hope everyone's enjoying a very happy Thursday as we steamroll towards travel season. The next time I'm on this show, it'll be March, which means June is right around the corner, as are our tours, and I can't wait. And if you've been following our social media, I mean, I feel like every day we're announcing new and more travelers. Our rosters are getting tighter and tighter by the day, and it's just great. It's an exciting time of year. And the biggest piece of news, and you've seen it online, so I just want to reiterate one big announcement from Student Athlete World. We are at the deadline to order a personalized uniform for the summer tours. So if either A, you're registered for a tour and you still want to order a customized, personalized jersey, you have a couple days to do it. All right. Just get in touch with me, Mike at studentathleteworld.com, or 203 518 8408. So if you're planning on making that order, get in touch with me right away so I can add to your account. If you have already interviewed and have not yet registered, make sure you register, let's call it over the weekend, because come Monday, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the end of it in terms of ordering the new uniform, or the personalized uniform. And if you have not interviewed yet, schedule your interview. I have hours available tomorrow, Friday, and Sunday. We could still make it happen. But come Monday is probably when we're going to transition from the possibility of getting a personalized uniform to the need to use a stock uniform, which is fine. You just return it at the end of your tour. It won't have your name in it. Otherwise, uniforms look the same. But that's a pretty big announcement from us, because I know for some of you that personalized uniform is very important. So I want to make sure you get every opportunity to take it. So please, by the end of the weekend, make that decision. Get in touch with me. I'll be working throughout the weekend. I will help you out in any way that I can. Now, a couple of things from the mothership here. I had today, I'm not going to give a name quite yet, but a really cool experience. So probably the most important part of my job, and probably my favorite part of my job, are the interviews, meeting with families, getting to know families. We've had some tremendous interviews recently. And, as much as we are Student Athlete World USA, the reality is the interest from student athletes outside the United States in our tours is exploding. It is at a level that I haven't seen. Now, Tim, maybe before my time, it was at a higher level, but already for this coming summer, I have interviewed athletes from Canada, from Qatar, from Australia, from Costa Rica, and there's one or two other countries in there. So these are athletes who live in other countries who are looking to meet us on our tour and compete with our athletes and our teams, and that opportunity is very much available for you. Today, I had the pleasure to interview a women's basketball player from Croatia, and that was just so cool. All right, and it made my job that much more fun. Just because you're speaking with somebody who lives halfway around the world, and when I interview an American candidate, there's pretty much a template that I follow. That there are certain highlights and benefits to the tour that any American athlete in any sport can share and be a part of. For example, wearing a USA jersey and representing your country. But for this particular women's basketball player from Croatia, excuse me, we had a great talk about, hey, what are your long-term goals? Well, she wants to go to college in the United States and play basketball. And what a great opportunity this is to get used to American basketball players, get to know American basketball players, get to kind of understand the American style of play a little bit more. And so for this young lady, and we'll announce her name when she registers, this is a big opportunity for her to see a part of the world she hasn't seen yet. So while she may not be an American athlete per se, there is a tremendous benefit to touring with Student Athlete World USA. And I know nothing about Croatia, to be honest, just what I've been able to do my own research on. But she spoke amazing English and was just a fantastic person. And it was a great interview, and I loved it. And it just made my job really cool. I enjoyed that. We ended up going well over an hour with that interview. And I enjoyed that as much as any interview that I've done all year. Just a great person. And I certainly look forward to welcoming her, hopefully, officially very soon. So just a real cool quirk and part of my job that I enjoyed, and it made today very special. And then kind of a question of the week. I've gotten this question a few times, and as I've said before on this show, I'm not going to get political as part of what I do here because we're not in the business of politics. And so I'm going to make sure I word this very carefully. I'm getting some questions like, what's the reception going to be for us and our athletes, being that the climate in our country politically has changed over the last couple of months. And this is not meant to make a statement in any direction, right or left. We are in a different place as a country than we were a couple of months ago. And that's the reality. That's not a political statement. But I do want to make it clear, the reception of our travelers is going to be as awesome as it always is. And how do I know this? I know this because I've been on 3 of our tours. And during this time, and as anyone who's met me on a tour, I'm the guy smiling. You guys by now have all seen that picture of me with the red, white, and blue hat and the red, white, and blue eye black and my Student Athlete World t-shirt from the Lisboa Lacrosse Cup last year, kind of an ugly Captain America. You should see the shorts. I've made a lot of friends throughout the world as a result of this experience, being partners we work with on the ground, being other coaches, being staff members, and I keep in touch with them. I pride myself in being a friendly face, and just really. I consider myself a people person, and what I'm getting from them is can't wait to see you this summer. Like, I'm going back to United World Games, and I was there 2 years ago, and the reaction is genuine excitement to see me, see Student Athlete World, have our athletes there. Not like, oh, we don't agree with what's happening in the United States, so anything negative is happening. No way. I don't believe the climate towards Americans is any different than it was 2 months ago, 2 days ago, 2 years ago, whatever. I don't think anything has changed. And I say this because, again, I'm in touch with people from the places that we go to all the time. And so what will the reception of Americans be on our tours? The answer is every bit as amazing as it always is. And they're always happy to see us every place that we go. It is not going to change. I can guarantee that. And yes, we live in a different climate than we did, but that is a climate that is way above our level here at Student Athlete, way above my level, way above Tim's level. So I just think people are smarter than that to know that if there is any sentiment that things in the United States are in any way negative, it's not me doing it, right? Or you or anyone traveling. So I would tend to think that anyone traveling with us this summer, I 100% believe it'll be no different than any other time we've ever traveled to any one of our tours. And that's not going to change. All right. And I can tell you, having done 3 tours, that the reception of the American athletes, coaches, staff has always been tremendous. I've always felt so welcome every place we've gone. And I've made lots of friends. And I'm going to dress like an ugly Captain America again at the United World Games, especially the opening ceremonies. I mean, you won't be able to recognize me, people. And I'm going to do it very proudly. And I'm going to be there with my own son. So who's competing for us. So I really mean it when I say, let's not look too deeply into the current climate in this country, whether you're happy or not with the climate. Let's just understand that, we're all united by sport, and that's why we do these tours. And when it comes to what we do, people love us, and they will continue to, and they'll be real excited to see you. So hopefully that clears that up. Hopefully that was a statement that was as politically neutral as one can make, because I'm a politically neutral person. And I'm excited to be at United World Games representing our company and our country this summer, and nothing's going to change that. I promise you. So moving on to What in the World. What in the World is brought to you by Go NetSpeed. Go NetSpeed, you killed me tonight, people. So your sponsorship dollars are now mandatory, because I needed to be online at 8 o'clock for the latest spin, and because someone over there didn't flip the right switch or flip the wrong switch, I'm an hour late, and I don't like being late. I have a very demanding job here, Go NetSpeed, and you hurt my efforts tonight. But we're back, so I can't be that mad. So anyway, what in the world? I'm going to kind of close the loop on the Hockey Four Nations championship that happened just a week ago. Yes, the United States lost. It was an amazing game. They lost in overtime, and it was great. And I got to tell you, it was, in my opinion, the most exciting kind of extracurricular of a sports season that I've ever seen. It was truly tremendous hockey. And the lasting impression that I have is this. The reason why all-star games in sports have failed, not are failing, they have failed. All right. Major League Baseball all-star game is not interesting at all. NBA all-star game, they don't play defense. So your team's scoring 200 points. It's not interesting. Football has become flag football, which I think for obvious reasons. But even my sport, lacrosse, the professional lacrosse league, the Premier Lacrosse League has an all-star game. It's not interesting because they're all all-star games. And that's the thing. Professional sports, go turn on an NBA game or an NHL game right now. Go turn it on. You're watching an all-star game. You're watching the best athletes in the world at that sport compete. And what I think has happened is when I was younger and you didn't have the internet, cable TV was in its infancy. God, am I old. So think about hockey. When I was a kid, and I'm an 80s child, I saw, and I think I shared this story with Tim last week, whenever this young superstar by the name of Wayne Gretzky came to New York to play against the Islanders or the Rangers, sometimes the Devils, you got to see him play. And it's the only time you ever got to see Wayne Gretzky play, except maybe like the Stanley Cup Finals. Otherwise, him being in Edmonton at the time, you rarely got games of the Edmonton Oilers in New York. Just like people in Edmonton couldn't see the New York Rangers play. It's just not how television worked. If you're younger, you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. So the all-star game, in any sport that was the case. During the 80s, Patrick Ewing became a New York Knick. Michael Jordan, came on the landscape. You only got to see Michael Jordan really play when he came to New York at the very beginning of his career. By the time he was, the biggest name in basketball, cable TV was a reality. You got to see him more often. But the point here is now, today, 2025, any sport, any athlete, you can see and play live any day, thanks to the internet, streaming services, pay-per-view, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So like if Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player in the world, if LeBron James is still the best basketball player in the world, if Connor McDavid is the best ice hockey player in the world, you could see their games all season long and not even have to spend that much money for it. So when I was a kid, the All-Star game was always a big deal for any sport because all the best athletes in a sport are playing at the same time, many of which you could not see play any other time, except when it came to your hometown. And then you have the All-Star game. Well, I'm going to tune in to watch the NHL All-Star game so I can see Wayne Gretzky, or I can see NBA All-Star game. I can see Michael Jordan. I never get to see him. Nowadays, if my favorite hockey player were to be traded away to a West Coast franchise, well, with a couple clicks of the button, I can watch every one of his games, record them even, no problem. So my bottom line here is the All-Star game in any sport has lost its use because we could see everyone who's an All-Star play every one of their games, and it's really easy. And you have packages. I once lived in Maryland. I wanted to see the New York Rangers every game. I purchased the NHL Center Ice package, which is every game in the NHL you have available for the entire season. And I got to see every Rangers games and occasionally other teams' games because I had every game available on my own television. So what that has led to is there is no longer the need for an all-star game in sports. I think they're obsolete. They're novelty acts. And if you look at, just watching the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL all-star games for years now, boring, not interesting. And even things like the slam dunk contest in basketball, the home run derby in baseball, much less interesting than it used to be. So the NHL figured this one out. And boy, did they knock it out of the park. This Four Nations tournament was unbelievable. And my lasting impressions are, number one, the NHL did something right that every other sport is doing wrong. If you're going to have an all-star break, you have to make it interesting. The Four Nations tournament for the NHL was more interesting than the Super Bowl and the World Series were this year. More interesting than last year's NBA Finals. Okay? I'll make the argument that this tournament was more interesting than the Stanley Cup Finals are going to be for the most part. I think the Stanley Cup Finals is the best playoffs in all of sports. So ultimately, now that every sport except really football has a global reach, think about the Olympics in basketball this year. All right. Baseball has its, I think, World Cup of Baseball, or whatever it's called, which they do every few years. Most sports now have such a global reach that I think the path to success, to give fans something at midseason, is something like what the NHL just did. Imagine a midseason NBA tournament where you represent your country. Like Team USA, Team France, Team Argentina, kind of like an Olympics, but within the season. Look what the NHL just did. Baseball could probably do the same thing. And not, a 16-team tournament that's going to make the sport shut down for a month, but the NHL shut down for 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, the NHL gained more fans than anything else they've ever done. I personally know dozens of people who are now paying closer attention to the NHL than they ever did before because of that Four Nations tournament. It was awesome. So if you're involved in decision-making, the NBA, Major League Baseball levels, you now have the path to follow. I would watch a Four Nations caliber tournament in basketball and in baseball. It would be compelling and interesting and amazing. Football, a little bit more of a challenge because you don't have the global reach. But my hope is the NHL has taught major professional sports a lesson that you can do something midseason to give most of your athletes a break, but it's not an all-star game. I think the all-star days of the all-star game are over, just my opinion. But the proof is it was the highest rated, the championship game, the gold medal game a week ago today, was the highest rated hockey game in years. Okay. And again, if you're watching and you watch that game, there's a real good chance, unless your last name is Ryerson, there's a real good chance you watched that game and you're now a bigger hockey fan than you were before. Something that would not have happened had there been a real All-Star game. It's my opinion. I could be wrong, but all I know is I loved it. I hope the NHL does it every year that's not an Olympics year. That's it for Latest Spin. As always, how do I get involved? How do I do this? How do I do the coolest thing in my sports career? There's only one way, and that window is closing. Go to studentathleteworld.com, complete your application, interview with me, and pack your bags. See everyone next week. Thank you again for your patience. Have a great night, everybody.